Election season is in full swing right now in New Jersey, and the candidates, well, they're out trying to convince you to give them your vote. Knowing their platform, of course, that's very important. But equally as important is knowing the person behind the candidate. Hi, I'm Racquel Williams, and Beasley Media New Jersey is proud to present to you Coffee with the Candidates. We put politics aside, for the most part, peel back the layers, and get to know the person behind the candidate. Oh, and of course, it all happens over a cup of coffee. So pour yourself one and enjoy. Welcome to Coffee with the Candidates. I'm Racquel Williams. Joining me today is Libertarian candidate for governor, Gregg Mele. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, I understand, Mr. Mele, that you were born and raised right here in New Jersey. Where in New Jersey do you live currently?
Currently, I'm in Bridgewater.
Okay.
So, I grew up in Bergen County in Rochelle Park, and went to high school, private school in Paramus,
okay.
So Mall Town. And,
Got it, yes.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with North Jersey, grew up in Hackensack, so familiar with that area. Mm-hmm. So what was it like where you grew up, your childhood?
It was a lot of blue-collar, working-class folks in my town, and so we watched everything, certainly, that we spent on, and it's something that kept me a little bit more fiscally disciplined, and I guess it also carried into my thought process in all areas. But yeah.
What about the family when you were growing up? What was your childhood like, if you will?
Sure. So, I have two older sisters. They're 6 and 8 years older than me. My father was working in a bookbinding warehouse for his career, usually, especially in the 70s, 2 full-time jobs back to back. So I didn't see him except for evening and weekend. But he was always the guy whenever my friends and I wanted to go out before we got our licenses. He was the one that took us all over the place. A lot of the other guys still call him closer to their real dad, to their dad than their real dad.
Oh, okay.
And my mother was stay at home, and we had a very simple, house, and just trying to get through day by day. It was actually a question originally whether or not we could afford to have me wait until after college to start working and helping contribute to the family.
Okay.
So, but we found a way to pull it off, and for my part, I accelerated. I got done in 3 years, so it was a good bet all around.
Wow, the experiences like that kind of build character anyway, so wouldn't you say?
I certainly hope so.
All right. So you're currently practicing law, and you have a law firm, Mele and Associates. It's based out of Clark?
That's correct, yeah.
Why did you choose law as a profession?
Well, it's a second career, actually, I should say. My undergraduate and my first graduate degree were computer science, mathematics.
Okay.
I was very much whatever side of the brain that is. And I started out as a programmer, analyst, business analyst, most of the time in Wall Street firms, and became interested in the business. Actually, it was in the early 90s, I decided to go back to school again, and initially looking at a finance economics MBA. And a few people suggested, you should look into law. There's also a lot of regulatory in the financial world that could help you also. Instead of doing what probably most would do and switching from one to the other as an idea, I just added it on. I did a dual degree.
Okay.
So lots of torture, 5 years at night, 4 nights a week. So and that was in the city after working all day in the city. So finished that program in '98, took the bar in the summer, went back for a law master's after that because I fell in love with the field. That being said, I was hoping initially I would be still continuing to work at Wall Street firms, but more on the regulatory side, things like that. But, September 11th happened, and a couple of months later, the Enron WorldCom bubble disaster, and the combination led to the following spring, 2002, just about every Wall Street firm let go of thousands of people. So I was the only one that kind of landed on my feet because I had that license in my back pocket. So by summertime of that year, I opened up my firm. And here we are 19 years later.
Wow, look at that. Okay, well, it all paid off. What would you say is your favorite thing about New Jersey?
Wow, I mean, there are so many wonderful things here. I guess the people that, I mean, certainly friends I've had over the years, family too, for that matter. But everybody seems genuinely concerned about each other. We help each other out. I think there's a lot more harmony than perhaps you hear out of some quarters. But I think that the ability to jump in and help out, it also in some way plays into the volunteerism that we also stand for as a party, that we prefer things to be more voluntary. And I think people respond to that. If you see someone in need, you help them.
Right, right. Now, you are married, and you have a blended family. I believe you referred to it as your own Brady Bunch of sorts.
Reverse almost, yes. Reverse Brady Bunch, yeah. I have two girls. My wife has three boys from our previous marriages. And so actually, I have, first of all, my daughter actually 2 days ago just turned 31, the oldest. She's in Astoria, Queens. And my other daughter is 28. We actually just had our first grandbaby in the family, so
congratulations.
That was in June, so thank you. Yeah, it was a joyous occasion. Her and her husband are in North Carolina, and my wife has two boys, 27, 25, that are in both actually Jersey City, and then we just actually finished graduation from high school for the youngest, and he's going off to school in a couple of weeks to Illinois Champaign. So pretty wide range.
Pretty wide range. Your quiver is full. It's awesome. Now, of course, Mr. Mele, people here in New Jersey are very concerned about things like property taxes, infrastructure, the Second Amendment, and the like. What would you say is your passion as far as what you would do to change what you think is wrong with New Jersey?
Well, I mean, the budget is front and center for me as far as a big area to reduce. I think the spending has been out of control for decades and decades, regardless of which party had the governor's office. And I've been saying for several years now that we have to try to talk about reducing the spending. It's funny, especially with the school system. And when I was younger, every year the school budget came out for a vote. Everyone treated it like the sacred cow. Oh, can't vote against that, that's our children, right? And of course, everybody loves our children. We want them to have what they need. But all those budget increases didn't go to the classroom, and teachers still get their own supplies sometimes, and meanwhile the administrations have become bloated. And that's also helped to fuel funding going there. That's led to the teachers' union also having a lot of power. I would dare say perhaps a bit too much power.
Okay.
So, big area there, and then part of what we're promoting for that is school choice. We feel that if there's competition, like just about every other area of life, it breeds better productivity and more high quality production of whatever your product or service is. I think the schools are no different.
Okay. You ready for the pushback on that? Because you'll surely get some.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. First topic on your platform page is lockdowns. You were saying that should never have happened and to get rid of that altogether.
Yeah. Part of what's really gotten me a lot of positive feedback is my intention is to promote something to actually undo and permanently ban the quote-unquote permanent emergency powers that have gone into effect. I mean, it's an oxymoron to me to begin with, but I just feel like we've never had such mandates before and the lockdowns before. We've never quarantined the healthy before. And I mean, we have on our campaign staff a crack biostatistician, I should say more accurately, that shows that the lockdowns were barely justified in the beginning and not for a long time now. And the collateral damage, the economic devastation, all this kind of thing, small business, I mean, that should have never happened like that. So we're looking to make it something that can never happen again, not just that, okay, now it looks like things are getting back to where the normal situation where that's not in place. We still have the thing about kids in some school districts with masks are not this fall, but other than that, we're glad that the other lockdown parameters have been removed at this point. But it's a little scary still to know that it could happen again.
Would you say that New Jersey is a business-friendly state? And if not, what needs to be done?
we rank number 50 in that category. It is atrocious what's happened, and we've lost a third of small businesses either folding or leaving the state or what have you. And that's where a lot of the economic devastation has occurred, and that's what will happen when you tax hardworking people to death. I mean, sometimes people have this perception that, you know, small business owner is, you know, super wealthy, has all kinds of money to give out to employees and everything else. I mean, usually they're not far, you know, just a little step ahead of, you know, really struggling to keep food on the table, keep, you know, kids' activities going on, and also actually sponsoring often with some of that, you know, extra money, softball teams for the kids or whatever it might be. So and it's like anything else. If you have a tax base where you're taxing that middle class so highly, and it's really hurting their ability to keep working and keep providing for themselves and the families of the people that work for them, sooner or later you're going to have the elite and everybody else fighting for table scraps.
At one point you were a Republican, correct? And
Yeah.
you decided to run for governor as a Libertarian. Why?
Well, it's been a few years since I was on the Republican side of the fence. Really, I mean, I grew up in a Republican house in a Republican town. And the thing that attracted me was the small government, small budget, at least ideal. Yeah, I had tried to get involved to some degree, essentially soon after I started my law practice, actually. It was a couple of years I got involved at the local level and got on a couple of the mayoral committee appointments. And I found that it was difficult to put anything forward because they would basically be more worried about the public perception than trying to explain why something was the right thing to do. One committee I headed was economic development. And you know, just talking about how you could do that and not lose the, you know, small town feel. This was actually, I lived for many years in New Providence at the time. It didn't get a lot of attention, and also over the last several years, I would say 15 to 20, also the Republican Party got away from small government ideal, and I'm very concerned about that on a few levels, but certainly the economic level. That's a dangerous path to go on, and now both parties, we call them the duopoly, basically are nothing but about that. So we need to reverse course. I mean, there's no saving the state if we can't do that, in my opinion.
Okay, and in closing, what would you say, or what would you like the voters of New Jersey to know about you and your ultimate plans for the state, if elected?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I would like to get across is that you know, my decision to do this, I mean, I decided initially within the party, I started talking about this run last year in September, and we spent time putting together a campaign team. We've got about 30 people on the team, and putting together infrastructure, things like that. And a lot keeps changing since then. It was pretty quiet relatively in September last year politically, and so much upheaval since at every level. So I think what I would like to make sure people know is that this is a homegrown effort, you know, grassroots effort. This is someone who's seen the change from you know, a much better state of the state in my childhood than I see today, and it just hurts me. I see, you know, people leaving left and right from the state. My girls are an example, but I mean, lifelong New Jerseyans, good friends of mine. At least a few hundred people over the last couple of years have left the state, and I do a lot of real estate in my practice. I see that happening all over. So this is an effort to try to make New Jersey what it was and make it more attractive again, so people will decide to come here instead of leaving, both businesses and people. So we're trying to make this a great place again.
Okay. Gregg Mele, Libertarian candidate for governor of New Jersey, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.